It's a common tendency for the least skilled people to have an inflated sense of self-competency. They're oblivious to their own ignorance. This is known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, whereby it takes a certain amount of intelligence to realise just how ignorant you really are. Nowhere is the Dunning-Kruger effect more apparent than the police service, where government service droids with the least understanding of the law will argue relentlessly with people clearly more qualified than them, without the least consideration of just how ignorant they sound. There are over 11,000 pieces of legislation in this country, all written in dense legalese which can be hard to interpret even for High Court judges who are often called upon to translate Parliament's poorly composed legislation. And yet the police and the public still maintain the dangerous misconception that when a police officer tells you what you can and cannot do, and what is or isn't against the law, he knows because he's a police officer. I maintain the more protective position that the police don't know the law because they have little interest in it, let alone understanding. It's frightening but true that police training on the law is so superficial that the majority of police officers get their knowledge from what they've seen or heard, mostly from other police officers, the internet and TV, but never from any law books they've read or studied. Take the Public Order Act, for instance, one of the most abused pieces of legislation in this country, especially Section 4, 4A and 5, the offences of choice among officers seeking to maliciously prosecute anyone they've taken offence to. And because they have free rein to prosecute under these offences, without any interference from the CPS, it gives them the opportunity to make public order anything they want it to be. Now, it's been quite a while since I uploaded a viewer-submitted video. In fact, this guy didn't even ask me to upload it to my channel, I asked him. It's been on his YouTube channel for quite some time, but I just couldn't resist commenting on it because it underscores two characteristics of the police which are the greatest threat to the public. Number one, they don't know the law, and number two, their primary motivation is to enforce their will upon others. I'd also add that this happens to be the most beautifully photographed police interaction I've ever seen, which could lend people to thinking it's been staged when it clearly hasn't, because no actor could pretend to be as stupid as police staff actually are.
Yeah, but I've done this for years. Never had any problems.
I've worked in the city for 6 years and I've never seen anything like this. I've seen signs held up, I've seen writing of, an explanation, but I've never actually seen visual pictures on a screen.
There's a massive movement all over the UK.
Yeah, there's one thing having an opinion on, isn't it? It's people's rights to eat meat or be vegan, but to show that on the screen when there's kids walking past, to me, it's not appropriate.
But all it is showing them how it's made, how their food's made.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So they're paying for it, so they've got a right to know.
Right.
But this is all legal standard practice in the UK.
Well, you can tell it. You can say that to someone verbally, can't you? You don't need to have it on
No. It doesn't make any sense without showing it to them. Because, hey, this is legal standard practice in the UK. I'm just showing people what happens.
Okay.
This is legal. I mean, is this what I'm doing illegal? Like with this?
What it is it's causing harassment to people that are walking past.
Let me stop it there for a moment. Harassment, alarm and distress. The three most hackneyed catchwords of being a police officer. In fact, I'm convinced that day one of police training involves learning how to master those words. But let me jump to the Public Order Act, where this hackneyed term originates from, namely Section 5, where the subheading reads Harassment, Alarm and Distress. But a subheading is not the makeup of the offence. If any police officer bothered to read the next few lines, they would find: a person is guilty of an offence if he A. uses threatening or abusive words of behaviour or disorderly behaviour, or B. displays any writing, sign or other visible representation which is threatening or abusive within the hearing or sight of a person likely to be caused harassment, alarm or distress thereby. What this means, and this is something that the police repeatedly fail to understand, is that causing harassment, alarm and distress is not of itself an offence under the Public Order Act. The harassment, alarm and distress must be as a direct result of threatening and abusive words or behaviour, which can include a visible representation such as a TV or a sign. Now, I don't know what the full contents are of the video that this guy is showing on his screen. All I know is what I've seen in the unedited version, and there was nothing that I would consider any worse than what you'd see on pre-Watershed TV. Either way, unless he's showing animals rising up and compelling viewers to take over the world, then it couldn't be said that the video he's playing is threatening or abusive. These two mice did threaten to take over the world, so under the police's logic, if I played this to kids in the street, I could be prosecuted under Section 5. All attempts at reason with the police are futile, because once they approach you looking for trouble and open their stupid mouths to unload the contents of their empty heads, there is no going back. They will always refuse to back down despite any attempts at reason, because to do so would mean public humiliation and would dent the obsessive pride they have with their own authority.
What it is it's causing harassment to people that are walking past. It's causing alarm and it's causing distress because we've had a phone call about it.
From who? One person?
It doesn't matter how many people.
Yeah, it does.
It only takes one person to be
Well, I want to know if I'm breaking the law, because I could be offended at that guy over there for wearing a red t-shirt, and I could call you. Are you going to tell him to take his t-shirt off?
That's different, isn't it? Showing animals being killed.
Well, this is standard legal practice in the UK.
Well, it's okay. We're going to get an officer to come down. They can speak to you about it.
Are you a police officer? Oh, you're a community. You're not a cop. I'm not being rude or anything, but the cops are more.
We need to speak to this male. He's kind of almost refusing to speak to us now because of PCSOs.
No, that's not it. It's
Yeah, you did. You just told us to get a police officer down.
because I want to know if it's against the law.
PCSO.
No. I want to know if it's against the law. That's why. I've done this for years in the UK. So I've never been told it's against the law to show people slaughter footage. What law am I breaking, by the way?
To be honest, it's more of I've never seen this, so I've never come across it. It's something new to me.
Are you shocked by it?
It's something.
Is that upsetting you?
14 years. All I'm saying is, people who display things or have signs and stuff, if we get phone calls about it, if someone is alarmed by something or distressed or harassed, that is an offence, isn't it?
Not harassing anyone. They've got a choice to look away. I'm not walking up to anyone. I'm standing still here. I'm not.
Well, you could say that about someone.
You could say that about someone preaching about the Quran, and someone gets offended about that. But you're going to stop them from doing that?
We do, yeah.
I'm a vegan, so
We
like.
stopped someone the other day for holding something up that people found offensive, and they had to be told to put it away and move on.
Yeah, but
because people are ringing us and telling us that they are bothered by it.
How many? If it's one, then it doesn't matter. But if
No,
it's 20, 30, 40, 50, then you've got a problem. But I
Right.
mean, this is just showing people what they're paying
That's not-
for.
it's
How are you
not
supposed
in
to
a-
educate people?
It's not in a figure though, is it? It's not like, if one person says it or 20 people
Well, one
say it.
person's always going to be offended with everything you do. So you can never do anything by that logic. But if it's a significant problem, there'll be people here shouting at me, turn it off, turn it off. No one's come up to me and said they had a problem.
Stood here.
Since 2 p.m., sorry. So probably about 2 hours. No one said anything. If someone come up to me and got angry and then they called you, I'd understand. But someone's just made the call walking past when they can look away, they can move their kids away. There's no one forcing them to watch this. I'm just standing here. And this is all legal standard practice. This footage is all gathered in either the UK or Australia. People pay for this. They deserve to know what happens. They eat it. They feed their kids bacon, but they don't know how it's made. So I'm showing them. I'm giving out food to homeless people. I'm giving out food to people who are interested, giving out information. I'm being kind. I'm not yelling at anyone. Yeah, I'm trying to create peace on Earth. I'm not trying to cause, the animals are suffering, not the people looking at it. They're causing it. I'm just trying to show them, like, hey, there's a better way. And you can't do it by talking to people without showing them, because you look at that, it makes you upset, and it probably makes you think twice about it. But if I just talk to you about it, it doesn't do it justice,
It's just, the thing is, like I said, we've had a phone call. They've not confirmed to me how many people, so we have to come over and speak to you about it. So, like I said, it's just going to be up to whoever arrives to see if it is, an issue.
If you responded to every call of someone being offended, like it's just one person, there's always someone out there that's going to be offended. But if it was a consistent,
there's one thing being offended by someone who's got, the wrong shoes on, and there's another thing being offended by visual things or someone saying something like it could be homophobic, racist, anything like that.
I get that.
People are going to phone, aren't they?
I get that.
Can I just pass comment on something, because I can't resist? Since when has the standard kit of a PCSO involved lugging around a half-drunk bottle of Diet Coke? Not that she doesn't need it, but it does lend weight to the fact that PCSOs are just ordinary members of the public dressed up as police stunt dummies who have no professionalism or decorum whatsoever. Their entire existence, it seems, is just to harass and intimidate the public and give the misleading impression that the police have a presence on the streets that they abandoned decades ago in favour of the internet. And don't you just love how they can summon up an immediate response from the real police just by uttering some trivial, exaggerated dreck into their radios? You'd think the real police would have sussed by now that if a PCSO is asking them to attend, it's going to be something pathetic and trivial. But knowing how work-shy our proper police are, it's probably that which motivates them to attend.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
I didn't want to come over and be rude or anything.
No, of course not. No, that's
just find out what's going on.
Yeah, no, so basically, we do this type of education all the time, and the lady, I didn't mean to offend her or anything, but like, I didn't think that what I was doing was illegal. We're just trying to get people to avoid animal cruelty, and I'm handing out some food and getting people giving people a pamphlet.
Yeah.
No one's complained to me, but I don't know if someone called in the background or something, but they didn't let us know. We've had a really positive response today, so...
I'd imagine that what's come through to us is a member of the public has reported it to us, obviously saying that animals being slaughtered and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When people get upset about it, it's quite distressing, isn't it?
For certain people, yeah, it is, yeah. Yeah, of course.
I find it quite... Things being intolerable, isn't it? And I know...
But this is the reality, isn't it? It's not like something horrible. This is where food comes from, isn't it?
I'm not saying it's not real.
I'm not saying if we're showing like child cruelty or something. I understand this is not happening, but this is where it's legal.
Yeah, this is legal standard practice in the UK. So, but how many people have complained to you?
I don't. As far as more, just like
one complaint. So I mean, is that enough?
Yeah, but it's caused someone to be a victim that they've been alarmed, distressed. You know what I mean? It's caused harassment, alarm, or distress to this person. That distress that they have to call the police. You know what I mean? That's where we're looking at it.
Yeah, I get it. But is one person enough for you to? Am I doing something illegal now? Yeah.
Because, as I said, it caused someone out of alarm, distress.
To be offended.
Again, let me reiterate this point on the 1,000,000 to 1 chance that a police officer with half a brain is watching this. Causing harassment, alarm and distress is not in and of itself an offence. It must flow from a person's deliberate intention to cause that harassment, alarm and distress by threatening and or abusive behaviour or insulting behaviour under Section 4 and 4A. One further point is that don't ever believe the police when they say that one person has complained. In all probability, it's this PCSO who took offence, and she's abusing what little power she has to make herself felt.
I'm asking people to stop being cruel to animals, right? Someone could go in there and buy a bacon sandwich. I'll call you, and I'm offended that they're walking around with a bacon sandwich. No, I'm asking you if this is the logic here, because I could be offended that someone's eating meat. Let me speak to him for a sec. I could be offended someone's eating meat and call you, and you have to tell them to put that away or move along, or why not?
It's not a visible sign, you see. If someone's eating a sandwich, it's not a visible sign.
It's coming from this place of cruelty, so I could essentially call you under the same logic, be offended, and you would have to remove that person. Sorry, brother? It's the same thing, dude. No. You're acting like someone's offended one person, but everyone else has been really positive about it.
So I know the complaint is called.
Them sandwiches are whatever in that shop.
So when you come here, inspected it, that's legal.
It doesn't cause you alarm.
I could be offended seeing a steak.
You've got to understand all.
I'm one person. You're not going to act on that. You're going to laugh at me. But if one person got offended by this, but 99% of people were having a burger, they were fine, it was all good, I don't understand why now I'm doing something illegal when most people were fine with it.
But you're here to investigate it.
There's only going to be one person, you know what I mean? But if there was 2, 4, 5, 6, I understand. I'd be like, okay, this is causing. No one come up and yelled at me, dude. No one was. Everyone was chilling. There's a few homeless people here. We're having some food with them, having a good conversation. No one said anything to me. And you got one call, and now 4 or 5 officers. You know what I mean? And we're trying to do a good thing. We're trying to do a good thing here. You know what I mean? We're not hurting anyone. I'm not forcing it on anyone. They can look away. They can walk past. They can keep walking. We're just trying to do a positive thing for animals. That's all. Yeah, no worries, but I'm going to give him some of the equipment because he needs something to cook with. Yeah, so like, I don't know.
I do understand what you're
Yeah.
So you believe it's distressing?
I think it can be distressing to some people.
You can understand why this would be distressing.
Yeah, and I gave you the example of someone walking around with a KFC. it's all about perspective. It's subjective.
You're showing this to call somebody distressed, to look at it and think,
I want to go vegan, or I want to stop abusing animals.
you're actively going out there, you've got the intention of distressing someone to the point of
Educating people. We were trying to educate people.
distressing people.
It's distress one person.
People aren't buying that, people aren't buying a bacon butty to put you in distress, people don't do that.
So it's about intention now. My intention is to educate people.
Yeah, but your intention to educate is now their intention is not to cause you alarming yourself.
I don't want to hurt people's feelings or anything. I'm just trying to educate them on what happens to animals, you know.
You're doing it in a way that's distressing people. That's your education. Showing animals getting slaughtered with blood all over them, aren't they? That's causing people for distress, and that's why you're doing it.
Yeah, but they'll go in and pay for it, and then I'll get distressed watching them pay for this animal cruelty. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Their intention is not to put you in distress. Your intention is distress.
No, my intention is to educate. It's not to distress people, it's to educate people. And like,
You can say reasonable person that would find it distressful or not distressful.
it's subjective, you mean?
Yeah, but
It's subjective. So,
we can make it objective by asking a lot more people.
so you'd have to go off more than one person. I mean, you'd have to go off more than one person because about 300 people have walked past.
Yeah,
Because there's always going to be one. Like if it was 5 or 6, then I would agree with you and go, okay, this is causing drama. But one person, I could make a call to you right now, and you'd have to act on it under that same logic because I got offended that there's whatever, I don't know, maybe I'm a Christian and there's Muslims preaching, and they're saying Quran's the way to go, and I'm a Christian. One person calls you, you're not going to. So what's the go from here on? Do you want this off now? Is it breaking the law if I don't leave these on, or just have to turn them off?
Stay here, but the screen needed.
Well, it's not the same. It just doesn't.
Approach you though, regardless. You've got signs for vegan everywhere.
Yeah, but if people don't see this, they're not going to be affected. They're not going to be persuaded to change. They're just going to see a burger. This here shows people what they're paying for. This is all legal standard practice. So if they're happy to pay for it, then continue to pay for it. If you can't even see it, then why are you paying for it? Like, you know, and this is what helps people change. What I do persuades people away from being cruel to animals, which is all I'm trying to do. If you got 10 calls and there was people yelling at me, spitting on me, you know, and I'm saying, like if I was doing something racist, for instance, it would be, but one person, does that really have enough, like if one person called your police station, does that really have enough leeway when you can see what's happening here? Look around. Is it causing people distress? They can just look away.
By the way, there's thousands of people passing by and there's only one person.
Not everyone who would be distressed would actively want to speak to you
We're talking about a reasonable person.
But if they do, you only know if they call the station and let you know. And if you've only got one call, then it's obviously not enough for people to be so offended that they're calling you more than once. And there's been about 2-3, I've been here for 2 hours. No one said anything. Everyone's been having a burger, having a good time. But I understand you have to act because you got the call. But I don't know, is it reasonable to act off one person? That's all I'm saying. Like, if you hang around here, you can stand there and see what goes on. And if you think it's really causing that much problems, then I'll agree with you. But I haven't seen it. Why didn't you go for at least if there's one more, then you've got 2, and then we'll pull it up. But if you've only got one,
I'd rather not have to come back here.
Come back.
There's other things we need to go to as well.
Well, fuck off and do them then. God, sorry, I don't know where that came from. I really need to get my blood pressure checked.
I'll give you my word, if you've got 2 calls to the station, then I'll take it down.
Listen, I work with people who are vegans. I'm not going to
I know it's not ideal from your perspective.
take it off. I'm not. But
It's not just my perspective, I just assume
One person called you.
based on the number of people passing
It's
by.
pretty relevant.
It was genuinely
Because it shows that it's not. If I had a Nazi sign here, I bet you get bloody 2,000 calls. Yeah, because that's offensive and it's wrong. But what people know, I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart. I'm not trying to hurt anyone.
because it can't
You know.
invalidate someone's
I appreciate the
feelings.
fact that
So this is how people.
Yeah, I know that. You're not acting personally. personally. You're acting because you've got the call. I know that. Yeah. So what, do you want me to turn these off or I can't continue? Or are you going to give it one more time? If you get another call, then I'll turn them off.
Well, we're going down the route of obviously preferably turn it off.
I don't want your details.
Yeah, I know, but like, what I'm saying is, if you do that, if you come here, turn these off, that's like freedom of speech gone. That's like you're acting off of one person, their word against mine. You caused one person to be distressed enough to call. Yeah, and that's enough for you to act like this. I wouldn't see them as a victim of crime. I see them as a victim of being offended, which isn't a crime.
On the legislation that we have, it's under public order.
But isn't it subjective to you? Don't you have to come up and analyse it and go?
Unfortunately not.
Yeah, you are repeating yourself. I know. I'm sorry. But under what law do I have to shut these off? Is there a law that I would be breaking? That's what I want to know.
It's a public order offence.
So I'd get arrested if I kept displaying these at this point. But are you saying that? Are you then saying that in the future, if I want to do this, I'll get arrested because you've given me a warning?
Not necessarily. It's up to the officer's discretion.
So if I do this again and no one calls, then it's cool. Yeah, that's a bit different. Yeah, that's different, because I thought like, okay, I do this now, and then basically we can never do this again. And we've been doing it for years here. It's all over the UK, all over the world.
I know it is.
And the police have never. We've had conversations like this before with the police, but it's never shut it down completely.
If we walk past, we walk come over and say turn it off. But because we've been called to this because someone's called us, it makes it a different matter.
Yeah. You know, that's an interesting quote. Like before, I will turn it off. But if it's not good enough for your eyes, why is it good enough for your stomach? You know what I mean?
I know. Listen.
People can't even see it, but they pay for it to happen. Like, you know, it's pure hypocrisy. Like, she probably whoever it was, a man or a female, probably went and bought a burger after it. You know, I don't want to see how my animals are slaughtered, but you know, so. Yeah. But I'll turn it off because you know I understand your position that you're in. You're not personally coming here. Someone called you. They got offended. You have to act.
We really do appreciate the fact that you've done it. Okay.
Yeah.
As I said, you won't be down as an offender on a crime. Okay?
No, that's all right.
Whereas technically, we won't put the crime in. Okay.
Yeah.
But are you going to be here for the rest of the day?
Yeah. No, well, I'm just going to give the rest of that food out, give out some equipment away to some homeless guys that I saw over here.
Do you want to try?
And then
do you want to try a vegan burger? Are we offering vegan burgers?
Yeah, I can cook this burger if you want. But yeah, no, that's cool. Look, without me questioning these things, I'd just be like, okay. So I want to get to the bottom of it before I just accept. You know what I mean?
I fully agree with what you're doing. Okay,
We still eating meat, yeah?
Say what you're doing wrong. I'm not.
I think it's the.
You're acting as a police officer being received a call. Yeah, it's different.
On a normal day, I'll probably stand on one.
Yeah.
I won't bring anyone because
We're still eating meat, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. I fully understand. I think it's crazy that people get offended by how their food's made, though. It actually proves my point even further, you know what I mean?
Offering burgers,
I tried a plant-based burger about a month ago.
He tried a plant-based burger. Doesn't that constitute cannibalism?
I really liked it. And it weren't the fact that there was loads of meat products on the menu. And I've been to a vegan restaurant in Northern Quarter. I'm not impartial to trying it. I do like it.
Would you like to try? Because I've tried this today.
You can't on the job.
Yeah. Joseph, I really do appreciate the last step, and I apologise that we're after the cops that have come and told us to turn it off.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I just questioned you because I'm going to question it, aren't I? Like,
absolutely. I understand why you do it.
because you could have just been trying to please people. I want to know if it's actually a law and if I'm breaking it. And
Unfortunately, because of what you were playing, it could have been something order.
yeah,
What you're doing is false not to be allowed.
I get it. The crazy upside down world of meat eating. All right, mate. No worries.
If you're ever confronted by these types of mindless police bullies misapplying the Public Order Act, you got a spare hour to argue with them, then just ask them the following. Under what provision of what act are you committing an offence? The police officers here just cite the Public Order Act without stating which section, probably because they don't know. Ask the officers if they're aware that under Section 4, 4A and 5 of the Public Order Act, the behaviour must be threatening or abusive, or under 4 and 4A, insulting. It's highly unlikely you'll get any kind of comprehensible response to all that, but if you do, you can then play your trump card and ask them, what does Section 6 of the Public Order Act say? I can guarantee you they won't know. Section 6 is a key defence to the majority of unfounded and malicious prosecutions brought under the Public Order Act, and it was key to my acquittal when I was prosecuted maliciously by Officer Snowflake for saying no shit to him. And by the way, he didn't just try to prosecute me for causing him offence, of which he would have got nowhere, but rather for causing offence to a couple of brittle school kids he imagined were stood around at the time. Section 6 is key to any defence because it sets out the mens rea of all public order offences. Only Section 4A is absent, which already incorporates the mens rea of intention directly into the provision. Taking into account the interaction in this video, even if the stallholder did display a video that could be construed as threatening, abusive or insulting, he must have intended for it to be so before the offence could be made out. And the term insulting is absent from the element of offending under Section 5, but remains under Section 4 and 4A. But as the police failed to mention which section of the Public Order Act he is allegedly in breach of, then it's difficult to know whether or not the insulting element is being applied. But even if it were, it could still maintain a defence under Section 6 that nothing he did intended to be threatening, abusive or insulting. I'll give this guy his dues. He put up an excellent, reasoned arguments against obstinate hotheads who have not the least interest in deferring to him. He might just as well have argued string theory with a playground full of 5-year-olds. Because when it comes to face-offs in the street, the police are interested in one thing and one thing only, that you do as they say. He could equally have argued that the word police, emblazoned across the back of our government service droids, is enough to cause anyone harassment, alarm and distress, especially when you consider that these PCSOs and their backup had no other intention except to threaten someone with arrest for engaging in perfectly lawful acts. That means that ultimately the police officers and the police crash test dummies in this video were more in breach of public order offences than the innocent stallholder they harassed.